Welcome and thank you for being here. If you have found your way to this space, it may be because somewhere in your life, you are searching for a deeper understanding, perhaps for yourself, your family, or the patterns that seem to repeat across generations. In this series, we will explore the wisdom of the family soul, beginning with one of the most powerful movements in systemic work: acceptance. Life itself is the deepest systemic truth. It arrives exactly as it does, not as you wish, not as we expect, and not always as we feel fair. And yet, within the movement of life, there is wisdom. Wisdom that becomes visible when we begin to look at our families with openness and humility. Today, we begin a new series exploring the wisdom of the family soul through the theme of acceptance. In systemic work, acceptance is not passive. It is not resignation, and it is not agreement with everything that has happened. Acceptance is something much deeper. It is the willingness to see reality as it is. And often, this is the first step towards healing. Because life itself is the deepest systemic truth. As I said before, it arrives exactly as it does, not as we wish, not as we expect, and not always as we feel fair. Systems, families, and people move according to patterns we cannot control. When we resist these truths, we create suffering. But when we begin to accept what is, something inside the system begins to soften. From a systemic perspective, acceptance is an act of honoring reality. It's not just it is what it is. It goes deeper than that. It means acknowledging that every person in our family system belongs. Yeah, I can hear your thoughts going. But what if? Just stay with me a little. Every event that has occurred has a place in the story. The good, the bad, the ugly. Each event has a place in the story. And every life that comes before us contributed in some way to our own existence. Just take a moment to think about that a little. Acceptance does not mean condoning harmful actions. It means recognizing that the past cannot be undone. And that healing begins when we stop arguing with what already is. I know it's so difficult for us to just come down and just look at the reality of what is. We always want to change it. We always want to make it better. Or we argue it was worse than it was. Whichever way. Healing begins when we stop arguing with what already is. When we deny or reject parts of our family story, those parts often continue to influence us in hidden ways. But when we acknowledge them with compassion and humility, we restore balance in the system. Acceptance allows energy that was trapped in resistance to begin flowing again. So when you feel resistance, what is it that you're resisting? And what is it that's trapped within that resistance that you are struggling to accept? Imagine a woman who has always felt anger towards her father. She left the family when she was young, like many of us do. For many years, she carried the belief that her life would have been better if he had stayed. In Constellation's work, we begin to see something deeper. Her father himself was carrying unresolved grief from his own childhood. He had never learned how to remain present in relationships. When she begins to acknowledge his limitations, not to excuse them, but to simply see them, something shifts. Doesn't make it right, but her anger softens. And then she discovers that the energy she had been using to resist the past can now be used to live life more fully. Acceptance did not change what happened, but it changed the relationship to it. You may wish to pause for a moment and reflect. What part of your life are you still resisting? What reality might be waiting to be seen with greater acceptance? You might gently place a hand on your heart and repeat this sentence quietly. I allow life to be as it is. And I allow myself to move forward. You do not have to force acceptance. Sometimes the first step is simply becoming aware of where resistance lives inside us. Acceptance is the doorway to systemic peace. When we stop fighting reality, we begin to find our place within it. And from that place, the wisdom of the family soul can guide us forward. Thank you for taking the time to reflect and explore the wisdom of acceptance. When even one person in a family begins to look at life with greater openness, something subtle can shift across generations. If this reflection resonates with you, you may wish to subscribe or return to the next episode in this series. In our next conversation, we will explore a very important systemic movement. Accepting our parents as they are. It may be hard to go there for you, but maybe just stick around a little longer, because together we will look at how seeing our parents as human beings shaped by their own histories can bring unexpected peace. I look forward to continuing this journey with you. Be safe until we meet again. Welcome back. I promised you that in this episode I would be looking at accepting our parents as they are. In this series, we are exploring the wisdom of the family soul through the lens of acceptance. Each of us enters life through two people, our mother and our father. Yet, our relationships with our parents are often filled with complex emotions: love, gratitude, disappointment, longing, and sometimes deep hurt. From a systemic perspective, one of the most healing movements we can make is learning to see our parents as part of a much larger story. Because life itself is the deepest systemic truth. It arrives exactly as it does. And our parents too arrived in life shaped by forces and experiences we may never fully know. Today, we will explore what happens when we begin to accept our parents as they are. Life itself is the deepest systemic truth. And as it arrives exactly as it does, we may not wish it the way we are now. It may not be what we wanted and expected. And we may feel, this is not fair. I should not be in this position. I deserve something better. Nowhere is this more visible than our relationship with our parents. Every person enters this life through two people, and yet many of us carry pain, disappointment, or longing connection to them. In systemic work, one of the most powerful movements is learning to accept our parents as they are. It may be also our most difficult movement. Our parents were not simply individuals making choices in isolation. They were also shaped by their own family systems, by their histories, by losses we may never know, by burdens passed through generations. When we hold on to belief that our parents should be different or should have been different, we often remain emotionally entangled with them. Resistance creates the entanglement. And yet we want to be free from the entanglement. Acceptance does not erase the pain of what may have been missing. We cannot ever go back into our childhood again and change our parents. It is simply not possible. But we may allow ourselves to see our parents as human beings rather than as the source of our suffering. Isn't it easy just to blame them for everything that we feel we feel we could have had? But if we see them as human, rather than the source of suffering, I wonder what will happen for you then. There may be a shift that happens that allows for the restoration of dignity to both generations. In one constellation, a man spoke about feeling unsupported by his mother throughout his life. He believed she had never truly seen him And during the constellation, he was invited to look at her life. He learned that she had lost her own mother when she was very young. She had grown up without emotional support herself, and for the first time, he saw that the love she gave him was limited not by lack of care, but by the limits of what she had received. Something softened in him. He realized that continuing to demand something she could not give kept both of them trapped. Acceptance opened the possibility of peace. So I'm going to ask you, can you allow your parents to be human beings with their own histories and limitations? You might quietly repeat, "Dear mother, dear father, I take life from you exactly as it came." Allow those words to settle gently within you. When we accept our parents as they are, not to change them, as they are, we reconnect with the source of life itself. And then the family soul finds a little more peace. Thank you for spending this time reflecting on the relationship with your parents. Welcome. I promised that today I would be speaking about accepting life beyond fairness. One of the deepest challenges many people face is the feeling that life should be fair. And yet, life often unfolds in ways that do not meet our expectations. Some people encounter great loss early in life. Others face circumstances they never chose. Life itself is the deepest systemic truth. It arrives exactly as it does, not as a wish, not as we expect, and not always as we feel is fair. Today, we will explore how accepting this reality can open a door to deeper inner peace. From a systemic perspective, life flows and moves according to forces much larger than individual preference. Events unfold across generations. Families experience cycles of growth and difficulty. When we insist that life must be fair before we can accept it, we may remain stuck in resistance. Acceptance does not mean that pain disappears, but it allows us to stop fighting the reality that already exists. And it's not, let's let it go. It is accepting, allowing us to stop the fighting of the reality that already exists. That's a hard one. But in that moment, we regain energy that was once tied up in resistance. It is exhausting to keep fighting. So let me share a story with you. A man once shared that he had spent many years feeling angry about the circumstances of his childhood. He believed that life had treated him unfairly, and during systemic work, he was invited to simply acknowledge the life he had received. And he spoke the words, "This was my life, and I accept that it was given to me. And now this is my life that I now accept as it is given to me." Does not mean you cannot dream forward, but often we cannot move forward because we are stuck in something that we are fighting for. And I know these words are not easy, but these words brought a sense of calm to this client who had never experienced calm before. Acceptance allowed him to move forward rather than remain in conflict with the past. And you might gently ask yourself, is there something in life that I have been asking to be fair before I can accept it? Yeah, it requires something deep inside of you to come forward. But when it does, you might quietly say, I allow life to be exactly as it is, and I allow myself to now live it fully. Feel what happens when you are able to say, I allow my life to be exactly as it is. And with that, I allow myself to live it fully. Accepting life beyond fairness does not diminish our strength. Instead, it allows us to meet life with humility and presence. In our next and final episode, we will explore how acceptance becomes something even greater, a gift to future generations. The work we do within ourselves can create freedom for those who come after us. And I look forward to sharing that final reflection with you. And if you're here for the first time and you want to be part of going forward, just subscribe, click the like, share your experience in the comments below so that we can take this conversation into the future. I look forward to seeing you again, and until then, stay safe.